Here is my tip number 2 for how to write a book. If you're writing a fiction book, you've got to learn craft. And I'm going to recommend some craft books to you. I'm going to see if I can fit them over in the corner next to me. The first book that I learned from was James Scott Bell's Plot and Structure. And it was a series of Writer's Digest books. And they were very good to help me. I also enjoyed this book by Larry Brooks called Story Structure Demystified. If you don't want anybody to be hard on you, then you may not want to read Larry Brooks because he's going to be hard on you, but he's good. The next book is by Connor Goldsmith. Not too many people have read this one, but this one's called Plotting Your Novel, and he was an agent, or may still be. And there were a lot of good tips in this book. And then the other book was called 27 Fiction Writing Blunders and How Not to Make Them. And it's another James Scott Bell book. And then, of course, he has another book called Writing from the Middle that helps you to write the middle of your book. But I think the most important thing in this tip number 2, you've got to be teachable. If you go into this thinking that you know everything about writing a book, or oh, it's easy, there's nothing to it, I can do it, and you don't want to take anybody's advice or any criticism, you're never going to be successful as a writer. You have got to have thick skin. You've got to be willing to take advice. And you've got to understand what advice is good for you and what's not. And you're only going to know that if you read some of these books on craft. Because these craft books are going to tell you what's right. And then when someone reads your work and they say, well, this needs to be fixed or that needs to be fixed, you'll know when they're correct and when they're not correct. So trust me, this is important. Read about craft before you start writing that book. That way you can understand how to write the book. Like I said in the very first video, you need to read. And you really need to read good writers. Watch how they put their sentences together, just like I said before. Once you do that reading in your genre, you also need to read these craft books. And I know that you probably don't want to read craft books on how to write a book, but if you don't, you're never going to learn. You are never going to learn the techniques that you need to make a book unputdownable. Okay? So that's my tip number 2.